welcome to the Word on Woodward presented by PointsBet. I'm Daniela Bruce, soon to be joined by my co-host Art Regner and Carly Johnston. We've got a huge show for all of you guys today, so I'm really happy you're tuning in. Expansion draft tonight, NHL draft coming up this weekend. Bob McKenzie from TSN will join us to talk about both of those two things coming up for the NHL, and of course a lot of Tigers news as well. Wherever you're watching today, as always, make sure you drop in the comments where you're watching from and include any thoughts, questions, comments, anything you have, and we will try to get to them later in the show. Without further ado, let's bring in my co-host Art Regner and get right in to the Big Three presented by Chevy. Art, we have a lot to get to today. I know normally I ask you how you're doing and everything, but today I don't care because we have a lot to talk about. So we're going to get to the first topic of today's
big show.
Yes, very big show. We're calling the first topic Fresh Faces because we've got some new faces in the Detroit sports world. And we'll start with Nick Leddy. The Red Wings traded for Nick Leddy. Steve Yzerman traded for him and gave up a second-round pick in this weekend's draft, I should say. And of course, Richard Panik as well, who was not a Red Wing for very long there, but Nick Leddy, the defenseman, a left-handed defenseman, Art, it seems like he's going to plug right into the Red Wings lineup and actually fit pretty nicely. They were looking for the left shot D-men, and there's been a lot of speculation around there that maybe he might be the veteran D partner that pairs up with Moritz Seider next season.
I think he will be. Nick Leddy's the Red Wings' best defenseman, hands down, right now. I mean, he had more points than any other Red Wing player. I mean, the points that he had for the Islanders, they were a better team. He's going to pair up. He's really going to help on the power play. He is, I'm not going to say a power play specialist, but he can run the point on it. He's going to be very, very good. And the one thing that he's able to do, and I had Kevin Allen on the Red and White Authority, a podcast that's up on our website right now this week, previewing the draft and all that. He said that the metrics, Nick Leddy is second best out of everybody in the NHL to take the puck and skate end to end, meaning he can skate through traffic. And that's going to help on the power play because what the Red Wings, they weren't very good on the power play, as we know. They had, they just dumped the puck in, but they didn't set up very well. And here's the guy that's going to be able to get the puck out of his own end, get it into the attacking zone. And I think he's going to be, I think it's a wonderful addition. The second round pick, I know people are a little shaky about that, but overall, good pickup by the Red Wings. And we'll talk later, but that does not mean that Mark Stahl is not coming back either.
And the Red Wings still do have 2 second-round picks. They gave up 1 of 3. So I think it's a good move by Steve Yzerman. And believe it or not, the guy knows what he's doing. So we're going to not question that one. Moving on to, actually, I'm lying. We're not moving on to the second topic yet. I almost forgot to mention Ty Madden, the Tigers draftee at number 32 overall. Right-handed pitcher out of Texas was signed to a $2.5 million deal with the Tigers. So he is officially in the Tigers organization. Excited to see what this kid can do, Art. I know a lot of people were surprised that he fell to 32 when the Tigers were able to draft him.
He was rated in as far as the top 10 prospects in baseball in MLB Network's final top 10 poll. He was rated the 8th best prospect in the entire draft, Ty Madden, and number 7 was Job, was the young man that they took with the number 1 pick, 3rd overall. To get him at 32, because he was the competitive balance round A pick 2, but to get him where they got him, it could be, and you hear it a lot, and we're prone to exaggeration. I understand that, but he could be the steal of the draft. And he was really happy to be here. I loved what he said. He said, look, if you're a young pitcher, why wouldn't you want to come to Detroit? I mean, there's a lot of young arms here. They got Chris Fetter, the savant of pitching coaches here. AJ Hinch, really, former catcher, really knows how to manage a pitching staff, as we're seeing. Not only starters, but bullpen, the entire pitching staff. Sorry about that. I got so excited I almost knocked off my laptop. But hey, pitching and defense. And, and I know I'm jumping around, but don't forget, the Tigers are winning right now, which is great. But Zach Short solidifying that infield has a lot to do with that, too. Pitching in D is the key. Ty Madden, he could be fast-tracked. He could be here in Detroit sooner rather than later.
Very exciting to see what happens with Ty Madden and Nick Leddy as well. Some good, fresh faces here in Detroit. Now we'll move on to our second topic of today's Big Three, which is the expansion draft. The Seattle Kraken will have a team. As of tonight, Art, they are going to select a player from each of the NHL organizations. And we did see the Red Wings protected list. I don't think there's any surprises in the forward department there. Maybe you could consider Giovanni Smith a surprise, but I don't think any of us here on the Word on Woodward see that as a surprise. And then defensemen that were protected is interesting. You've got Nick Leddy, you've got Gus Lindstrom, and you've got Philip Hronek. So that leaves Dennis Cholowski and Troy Stetcher open to the Seattle Kraken. And those are the two names that I have seen tossed around the most, Art, for the Kraken to select. Is that where you think they're going to go, one of those two players?
You would assume so. You would really assume so. Dennis would have been protected. Cholowski would have been protected if they didn't acquire Nick Leddy. But obviously, the Islanders didn't want to lose Leddy for nothing, and they're able to pull a trade. Again, a good move by Detroit. It helps out the Islanders. Great for Lou Lamoriello and all those guys as well. Barry Trott's great coach. But with all that said, you have to think. But the thing is that they have to take at least 9 defensemen. I don't know. I mean, you've been following Twitter. I've been following Twitter. It seems like did they have the expansion draft already? Because every team's been picked by Detroit. They're not saying who the Kraken, what Red Wing they're taking, but virtually all the other teams are.
We're just going to call that rumor and speculation, which of course is our favorite thing. But that we're just going to call that rumor.
Right. Rumor, innuendo, and speculation does not have Carey Price going to the leaving Montreal. But with all that said, I think it has to be Troy Stetcher. I really do. And I think he really upped his street cred, if you will, that expression, by what he did in the World Championship to lead Team Canada to a gold medal and assist. And he actually made that goal when they beat Russia in overtime to go to the gold medal game. I mean, you really, really have to look at it and give him, big props. I mean, I hate to lose him. He's a real high energy guy, and I know he played well in the room, but I would assume at this point it has to be Stetcher. And if it isn't Stetcher, I don't think it's going to be Cholowski. I think they might go with Nemetsikov.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Vladislav Nemestikov would not be a bad pick either for Seattle, but I think it's going to be Troy Stetcher too, Art. I tend to agree with you, but the only difference with Dennis Cholowski, I don't know if he's that much younger than Stetcher, but he's definitely a little bit younger. So he's got the upside on the prospect end of things. But
I think 4 years.
4 years? Oh, that's more than I thought.
I think Dennis is 23 and Stetcher's 27. Maybe I could be wrong though. It's like 3 years.
We'll double check that. We'll get back to that one when we talk about the expansion.
Sure we will.
Later in the show. Okay, we will. I'm going to. All right. Well, we're going to move on to our third and final topic of today's Big Three. As mentioned, we will be talking a lot about the expansion draft today, but also remember that the entry draft is coming up this weekend, Friday and Saturday, and there's going to be the big party at Little Caesars Arena for Friday's picks. I know you guys will be doing some streaming shows. It'll be Art Regner, Carly Johnston, Ken Kale, and some very, very special guests that Carly's going to tell us about later in the show, but make sure you are tuning in. That is this Friday, July 23rd. And of course, the NHL draft is another thing we're going to spend a lot of time talking about today. So we're going to wrap up the Big Three right there. A big thank you to Chevy for presenting the Big Three. Chevy cares. That is why Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. A lot of NHL news, but there's also a lot going on with the Tigers right now, and it's all really exciting. We're going to get into Brush Street Beat, presented by our friends at McLaren Healthcare, and of course, Carly Johnston is going to join us for this one. As I mentioned, there's a lot of exciting news surrounding the Tigers, but there is a little bit of unfortunate news that we're going to talk about first, which is Spencer Turnbull will be undergoing Tommy John surgery, so he is out for the remainder of the season. Carly, it's bad news, like I said. But the good news is some of the other Tigers pitchers have really been stepping up, and hopefully we've seen Tommy John surgery again and again. Hopefully Spencer Turnbull is able to make a full recovery.
Yeah, they say about a year and some change until they make their full return. I mean, you see it all across MLB, but it is an unfortunate timing because Spencer Turnbull was really having his breakout season that we were all hoping he would have, especially throwing that no-hitters. So, I mean, hey, at least he went out with a bang. He had a good first half of the season, or a little less than the first half of the season. So, sending best of luck to him in his recovery and the surgery. Personally, I know It's never a good time to get surgery, but you know what? You got to put your health first. So happy for him that he's being able to take that step and be able to recover. Hopefully it only takes a year, because I know they give like 12 to 18 months ish for Tommy John recovery, but best of luck to Spencer Turnbull. It's really sad to see him go.
Definitely. I think we all are wishing him the best. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of great things surrounding the Tigers right now. They're currently on a 5-game win streak after the win over the Rangers last night, undefeated in the second half of the season, you guys, since the All-Star break. And Robbie Grossman had another home run. And I have to say, this was after a 2-hour and 10-minute rain delay. So that's a long rain delay. The Tigers were still ready to go. Art, you focus on Tarek Skubal. He pitched 6 innings, allowing just 1 run, adding 4 strikeouts. Another solid performance from the left-handed pitcher there, the young lefty. What did you think of Skubal?
Well, let's face it. At one time, wasn't he 1-6, I believe, on the season, and really trying to figure it out? And then, he's caught fire. He's 6-8 right now. I think he leads all American League rookie pitchers in strikeouts. And what was interesting, you look at the total and you say 4, that's not bad, but you're used to seeing 8, 9, 10 by him. And he said something interesting, and this is where we see the maturation point of a pitcher. He said, look, they were hitting I guess it was a sinker, but I know when they're going after it and I'm hitting my spot, I'm going to get a lot of ground balls. So I don't care about the strikeouts. I just know I'm going to get ground balls and they're going to field them and we're going to be fine. Before, because, and Sparky Anderson used to say this about Jack Morris. And Jim Leland said it about Justin Verlander. When they were young, they got up there and they had such good heat, and Skubal obviously is in that category, that they would just try to overpower. Fastball, 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 fastball. Well, virtually everybody, depending on the movement, I guess, but can hit a fastball. That major league hitters can usually hit a fastball but unless it's, depending again on location. So I guess my point is that he gets it. He sees it. He's not in love and enamored with the strikeout as much as he's going to get his fair share. Trust me. He might be up there with Mickey Lolich when it's all said and done for left-handed pitchers' career most strikeouts, but at this point, I really like that quote. I really like what he said. It shows that he's understanding it. He's getting comfortable in his own skin at the major league level. I really, really am impressed with what Tarek Skubal has done in a relatively short period of time. I mean, there was a point where he's 1-6, I believe. I'm going off the top of my head. You're thinking, oh my gosh, this is, Skubal, what's going to happen? Do they have to send him to Toledo? Work it out. Remember, they did that to Max Scherzer, but they didn't do that. He was able to work it out. So I'm pretty, I feel, pitching, they're in pretty good shape. Matt Manning goes today, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. Things are looking up for the Tigers.
That they are. We saw some solid pitching from Tarek Skubal and, of course, the bullpen. The bullpen has been outstanding. I feel like we have to mention that. We've seen Kyle Funkhauser, Jose Cisnero, Gregory Soto, Buck Farmer, Joe Jimenez. The list goes on. They've all been great filling in when some of these guys are going down with injuries. We mentioned, obviously, Spencer Turnbull, Matt Boyd hasn't been pitching, so that has been awesome. Carly, the bats have also been hot. As I mentioned earlier, Robbie Grossman had a solo shot last night. Eric Haas, and now both of them have 14 home runs, which is tied for second on the Tigers. So it's just great to see the bats going.
It is. And I mean, even Jonathan Scope and Jeremy Candelario, Candyman, as we all know and love, they've been really playing well as well. So it's nice to see, though. I've been looking at Robbie Grossman and Eric Haas, just waiting for them to have that breakout season. And I think that's happening, especially in the second half of the season. I mean, the Tigers are really, really finding their rhythm and being able to capitalize on a lot of this offensive play, because as we know in the first half, they weren't looking too hot offensively. So I don't know what AJ hinted at or what happened, but hey, you know what? I like what I'm seeing and I hope they keep it up. The Tigers are hot right now and I hope the streak continues.
Yeah, it's definitely something that everybody was concerned about heading into the season. Will the Tigers be able to find power in their bats? We mentioned Grossman and, of course, Haas, but there's Jonathan Scope, too, who you mentioned, Carly. He leads the team with 17 home runs and had an RBI double last night. So he's playing really well, too. The Tigers look good, like you said. Hopefully that continues. We're going to wrap up Brush Street Beat right there. A huge shout out to our friends at McLaren Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat right here on the Word on Woodward. We're going to stick to the Tigers, though, and Carly's going to stick with us as well. And we're going to get in to Bet You Didn't Know, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Red Wings, and Little Caesars Arena. The Tigers, we just talked about how great they're doing. They're going to look to extend that 5-game winning streak tonight against the Rangers, and undefeated since the All-Star break. So, Art, what is it going to take for the Tigers to extend their winning ways and keep this up? I know we're going to see Matt Manning on the mound tonight.
Well, I think that he's going to be the key right now. Manning is going to start. Technically, he's being called up from Toledo. Remember, they sent him down during the All-Star break so he could get some pitching in. Well, he didn't pitch for Toledo. So his last time he pitched was July 9th for the Tigers. The delay, I'm sure, didn't bother him some because he had probably a chance to work on some of his pitchers. And, something that I think we've all noticed through his 5 starts, I'd love to see him be more aggressive in attacking the hitters a little bit more. Texas is dead last in the AL in slugging percentage. So I think if he's aggressive, pounding the strike zone and mixing in the secondary pitches, I think he can be successful against Texas. I mean, look, Texas is not won. The Tigers are 5-0 since the All-Star break. Texas is 0-4 and has been outscored in their 3 games since coming back by a combined score of 43-3, I think it is. So they're struggling. This is a great opportunity for Manning to get out on the mound and experiment and learn a little bit. Use this. Obviously, he wants to win, and everyone wants him to do well. But go off the grid a little bit and mix in some pitches, experiment, see what you can and cannot maybe get away with, and. This is a weak hitting lineup. So that's what I would really like to see is Matt Manning get a more aggressive. They're last in slugging percentage, as I said. And, and I think he's going to be, since he hasn't started since July 9th, he's in a little competition with his buddies, Mines and Skubal there. So I think we're going to see a pretty good outing by him. And I think he is going to be aggressive. I think he's going to attack that Texas lineup.
Yeah, Art, as you said, Texas has been, lacking
No, that's
power,
right.
Danielle.
I was just going to add it to Art, and I was going to say it's friendly competition, though, between Matt Manning, Tarek Skubal, and Casey Mize. So it's a good thing, a good kind of competition. But keep going.
Oh, yeah. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. Yeah. It's kind of like the 3 of us. We're competing all the time, but we love each other.
Yeah, like we've said, we were going to run the bases at Comerica Park. I can confidently say I will be dead last as I will be hobbling.
You're going to give you a full recovery time, Carly. We'll give you a full recovery time. We got to make this fair.
Thank you. All right, next year we'll be doing it. But back to the game. We talked about Texas not having a lot of power this season. So we can look for the Tigers to definitely, hopefully, we should say, go deep a few times tonight. The Rangers starter, though, Jordan Lyles, he's allowed 4 home runs in his last start and has given up the 2nd most home runs in MLB this season. He's pitched 103rd innings this year and has allowed 21 home runs. So hopefully the Tigers will sit on Lyles' fastball. Opposing hitters are tagging him for a 3.13 average this year. I don't know what I was doing with my hands there, but it's clearly a good sign for Detroit. Hopefully they will capitalize on that. And continuously talking about hitting, as we were talking about before, we have to talk about Jonathan Scope, who extended his hitting streak to 10 games last night and is batting .429 in his past 7 games. It was his 33rd multi-hit game of the season, which leads the American League. Plus, he made a really sharp play on a pickoff to end the first inning last night, as we saw. A big play to keep the Rangers off the board. So hopefully, again, the Tigers can capitalize on the Texans. Hello, wrong sport. The Rangers weak power. So again, hopefully we'll see a lot more offensive play out of the Tigers as well tonight.
And you guys, tonight's game has a deeper meaning to it too. It's special in another way. For those of you that don't know, make sure you're wearing pink to the ballpark if you're heading down there. Tonight is pink out the park. So even if you don't own anything pink, they are giving away pink Tigers jerseys to the first 10,000 fans, and that's presented by Carmano's Cancer Institute. Head to the ballpark early if you don't have pink. If you do already have pink, make sure you're wearing it. Get down there and support a great cause while cheering on the Tigers. This I can say. We won't be at the game tonight, but I'm going to wear pink and watch it on my couch, and I know Art will probably be doing the same thing.
Oh yeah, I definitely will be. Pink is my favorite color. I have several pink shirts, and I don't know which one I'm going to wear. Probably it's a little cooler today, so I'm going to have the windows open. So it might be one of those open air and let my chest be exposed for a while.
Oh,
But with
good
that
thing you're
said,
going to stay home.
it's quite a visual. Trust me. With that said, though, I want to remind everyone that PointsBet is teaming up with Middle Light and the Tigers to give you the chance to win an exclusive VIP pack this July. Download the PointsBet app now and sign up with code Miller. That's Miller, Miller, to receive a 100% deposit match up to $300 and your chance to win an exclusive prize pack. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-270-7117.
And now, as if we haven't been catching up with Carly this whole show, we are officially going to catch up with Carly, presented by Meijer. Carly, what do you got for us today? I know, again, we've got some time to cover here in this last week. What's some of the biggest news that we've missed in the show so far?
Sure. Well, I do want to talk about Nico Goodrum. Good guy, Goodrum went to Flint to hand out water. As we know, they had the Flint water crisis. So not only he was there, we also saw Ian Kroll and Akil Badu take part in handing out some cases of water in Flint. So it's good to see the guys get out in the community. Once again, after a long year and a half, 2 years since COVID hit, and we haven't been able to see the players in the community. It's great to see them be able to get out there again and help out and spread the wealth, as you will. And then I do want to talk about the Red Wings. As we've been talking about all show long, the NHL draft is on Friday. We know the Red Wings are picking at 6th and 23rd, technically 22nd because Arizona had to forfeit, but that's besides the point. I do want to talk about the draft party we'll be having at Little Caesars Arena. It is right in Chevy Plaza. It's presented by Meijer. So I will be there. Art will be there. Ken Cal will be there. That's the exciting part. But the most exciting part, I do want to say, is that we'll have some guys like Mickey Revman, Larry Murphy, Drew Miller. So it's going to be a ton of fun. We'll be interviewing the players, the prospects, and we'll be interviewing some of the alumni. We'll be talking all things Red Wings, prospects, you guys name it. Red Wings hockey, we will be talking it. So don't forget to RSVP online. Again, I think it starts at, or what time does it start?
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
All I know is I do that for.
Carly only has her call time ready.
Larry Murphy is in the Hall of Fame, as we know, and Murph's going to be there. And, he's been a guest many, many times here on the Word on Woodward. And I'm watching the news the other night, and it's Martha Reeves' birthday. It's her 80th birthday. And so I'm sitting there, and they're interviewing Martha, and there's this guy in the background at this outdoor, picnic, little party celebration. And I swear to God, I said it, and I hopefully you can see this.
No,
wait, there's Martha. Wait, there's Martha. Oh, there's the guy. Hopefully you can see.
Up.
Oh,
there you go. Oh, hold it up. Up.
Well, up more. Come on.
Up. Which way's up?
Up.
You're aging yourself right now.
Doesn't it look like
Larry? That is not Larry.
Do you think that's Larry? Do you think that's Larry?
No.
I do. I sent it to him. I said, I didn't know you knew Martha Reeves. I think it looks just like Murphy.
Great. Now he's not coming to the party on Friday.
On Friday, if he starts singing Motown or belting in and dancing in the streets, I think we'll know why, because he's really tight with Martha Reeves. Happy 80th birthday to Martha Reeves, by the way.
Oh, yes, of course.
We'll see you at the draft party on Friday. By Meijer.
Yes. We'll see you there, you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially in the Chevy Plaza. I love that we can have a summer event out there. The weather is going to be nice, and everyone's going to be outside enjoying themselves watching on the big screen. So a lot of fun. Make sure you are RSVPing to Friday's draft party starting at 6 o'clock in Chevy Plaza. And just like catching up with Carly, that is also presented by Meijer. So a big thank you to Meijer for presenting Catching Up with Carly today. And now we are going to talk some more NHL draft, but actually expansion draft first. We're going to talk about the expansion draft. Let's get into Downtown Hockey Town, presented by Labatt Blue Light. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, the Red Wings had to submit their protected list. I think it was Sunday. So earlier in the week, we found out who they were protecting. And Carly, the biggest names that we noticed that were not protected were Troy Stetcher, Dennis Cholowski, and Vladislav Nemetsnikov. Art and I talked about this in the Big Three. So give us your thoughts. Who do you think is going to be taken by the Seattle Kraken tonight?
Okay. I like the thought process you guys were going with earlier, and I have to agree with Art. I mean, again, I think he said like 3 names, so I don't know who exactly he landed on. But Vladislav Nemetsnikov, I think Vladdy is going to be stolen from. I can't exactly say stolen because we're offering him up, but I think the Seattle Kraken will be Vladdy Nemesnikov's new home, which, I'm sad about because I know, especially his relationship with Steve Yzerman and the home that he has made here in Detroit. But I do think that Seattle would be his new home after tonight.
All right. Carly thinks it's Vladislav Nemetsnikov, and I said I was going to confirm this, and I am going to confirm it. Troy Stetcher is 27 years old. Dennis Cholowski is 23. So if you're looking at, the age and the progression line, I think Dennis, he's got a better trajectory, and that might be who they take. I don't know. I think it's one of the 3. Can we just go with that? We say all 3 names. I think it's one of them.
Art said all 3 names. I don't think he's wrong.
We should write horoscopes, that, because that's all a horoscope is. You read your horoscope for the day, they give you like 9 things. One of them has to happen to you, right? You're going to walk outside your house today. Yeah, you know what? I think I am.
I love it.
I don't know. Sometimes I haven't left my house in the past. How many months has it been?
That actually is true.
That could be a tricky one there, Art. That could be tricky. All right. Let's talk about our mock drafts too, guys. As I mentioned, the NHL draft, as we have mentioned about 10 times throughout the show, the draft is coming up Friday and Saturday. All 3 of us completed a mock draft, and we all picked different players. You can catch our mock drafts on Red Wings Social and the YouTube channel as well. I picked the winger William Eklund, the Swedish winger, but the more I think about it, and we did record these a couple weeks ago, he is probably going to be gone. So I don't know how certain I am about my mock draft. I feel like it's changing all the time. Carly, you went with Mason McTavish, who I'm seeing a lot of traction on. Why do you think it's going to be McTavish?
I think the Red Wings need a center, and I think that he's played very well in the leagues that he's played in, the tournaments he's played in. I think that his game will translate very well to smaller ice. He has really good edge work, and he can get up and down the ice quickly. So I think that he would be a good pick by the Red Wings, and I didn't have Eklund in my top 6. I like to throw things around because, again, I never know what Steve Yzerman's going to do. I think if Eklund is available at 6, maybe he'll pick him. But I, again, feel like the past couple of years, we've all been like, Steve Yzerman, what? Who did he pick? But so I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think that maybe Eklund could be available. I don't know. Again, like I said, you just really never know with these teams in the top 10. I mean, usually the top 3 are pretty solid, and you don't really question it all that much. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Eklund or McTavish, but if they're available,
yeah,
I would
Carly,
like to see McTavish center.
You're definitely not the only one who's thrown off by this year's draft. We talked to Bob McKenzie, and he is going to be today's headliner. And he talked a little bit about how it gets muddy from 2 to 9. I'll obviously let him talk about his insight. He had some great insight from there, but no one really knows exactly what's going to happen. And we know Art had Jesper Wallstedt, I should say, going number 6 to Detroit. And according to Bob McKenzie's ranking list, he's ranked number 12 best prospect. So Art, do you really, really think they're going goaltender? Is that what you think at number 6?
Well, it was really interesting. Based on what Bob McKenzie told us, I would say if Matty Beniers, who's actually a center, if Matty Beniers falls down, because he's the guy that, one hot prospect who's been mentioned all the time, just before the draft, it's like, oh man, you know what? I got to justify my job. So I'm going to change everything around. Well, maybe Beniers isn't as good. He seems to be the guy that is dropping just a little bit. If he's at 6, I think it's a slam dunk. I think the Red Wings take him. William Eklund, I think they really like him too. I agree with you, Danielle. He's not going to be around. But what Bob McKenzie said is, as you said, and he'll speak for himself, it gets real gray from 2 to 9. They're really interchangeable. And I look at it that way. That means that all of them are good players. but they all have a flaw or two, like because if there's no delineation between 2 and 9, that means that they're really, really close. So you can probably, some guys picking apart this guy's game, but he's up high, and then this guy loves this guy, so he's even higher. I mean, it goes all over the place. We know for a fact, Jesper Wallstedt is the best goalie in the draft by far, considered the best prospect since Carey Price, considered to be perhaps the greatest Swedish goaltender since King Henrik Lundqvist, right up there. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, okay, look, this draft's going to be wide open. It's all over the place. We're picking 22nd also, or technically 23, but 22nd. And why not go and for the need and best player available? Wallstedt fills that need, and he's the best player available. And if he's there at 6, Steve, you and your little buddy that's going to they're going to make the pick with you, just boom, pull the trigger on Wallstedt. You can't go wrong, Steve. I know you've listened to me over these past, 30 years or whatever, but this time, take it to the bank. Wallstedt, my friend.
All right. I like it. Confidence. And I tell myself I'm never going to bet against Art anymore, but I'm going to bet against him on this one. Just one more time. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here. Another reason you'll want to stick around for Bob McKenzie's interview, as if you weren't already going to stick around. It's cool how he does his list. Most people give their personal thoughts on the prospect rankings, but Bob McKenzie actually talks to a handful of scouts and then does his rankings list. So very interesting, very good insight. Make sure you are sticking around for today's headliner. And tomorrow, look out for the real expert mock draft. Ken Kale will be releasing his mock draft tomorrow. Whoa. So we'll see what Ken has to say. And I'm going to be a little upset if he agrees with Art, because then I'm probably going to have to lean that way too. But that's all right. We'll find out tomorrow what the great Ken Kale says.
I've tried talking him into Wallstedt, but I think he may go more Carly. I think I don't know, but I think he might go Mason McTavish. McTavish is the hot guy right now.
Ken Johnson?
Yeah. I'd like to see Kent Johnson too. I mean, Kent Johnson, based on what Mel Pearson told us a few weeks ago, 5 years from now, he could be the best player in this draft. He's that creative. Anytime Patrick Kane is mentioned in the same sentence as Kent Johnson, that's got to make you feel pretty good.
Yes, it definitely does. Again, Ken Kale's mock draft will be out on Red Wings social media tomorrow, so look out for that. Of course, draft on Friday in the big party at Chevy Plaza starting at 6 p.m. RSVP now. That does it for Downtown Hockeytown, presented by Labatt Blue Light. Labatt Blue Light is a refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. And we're going to say bye to Carly for just a couple of minutes, because she's going to be all over social media looking for your questions and comments so we can talk about them. And let's socialize a little bit later in the show. Right now, we're going to get to the mailbag delivered to you by Little Caesars. And it's Art today answering a couple of fan questions. Art, we're going to get right into this one. And we're going to get back to baseball for this first question. Mary from Canton wants you to answer this question. The Tigers have looked really fast this homestand. Are they that speedy? Or wait a second here. Are they that speedy, or does Comerica Park play to their speed? Sorry, I had a little typo there. Does Comerica Park play to their speed, or are they just that fast, or maybe a little bit of both, Art?
I actually do think it's a little bit of both. As we know, one thing that makes baseball such a unique sport are that each ballpark is different. The dimensions are different, and the Green Monster in Boston, and Texas. I think aren't they in a new studio? But they used to have the overhang in right field that Tiger Stadium used to have, and but all infields are a little bit different too. If you have a slow team, they cut the grass higher, so the ball kind of slows down a little bit. And, there's all kinds of tricks to the trade. However, if you look about it, the Tigers are a fast team because of Akil Baddoo. Grossman seems to have some speed. Eric Koss, as a catcher, seems to have some speed. We know that, Jake Rogers was this close of qualifying for the U.S. Olympic track team in the sprints. So, so they're a pretty fast team. They really are a pretty fast team. They get a lot of infield hits, especially Baddoo has solidified that leadoff spot. And the power alleys. I would say the power alleys, that's the ballpark. if you can hit it in the power alleys, that ball's going to, right center, left center. If you can get the ball in there, that ball's going to roll to Toledo or whatever. I mean, it's going to go on forever, and you could probably get an extra base. I think that's why Baddoo, but his speed is why he leads the American League in triples right now. So I would say it's a little bit of both, but I really do think that they're a pretty fast team. I think that A.J. Hinch and Al Avila, when they got together early on when the Tigers were struggling, they decided to make this team over a little bit. Some guys that we thought were going to be, stalwarts this season aren't here anymore. And they got younger and they got quicker. But I do think, except for Miguel Cabrera, who is going to always try to stretch a ball, probably hit up the
You saw him. I think they called it as a steal, right?
I mean,
he double and then he stole. Yeah, he's got it. He's got it.
Right. But I think it's infectious. Everybody's pretty aggressive. They're an aggressive team. They're aggressive base running. So to answer Mary's question from Canton, I would say this. I would say it's probably a little bit of both. A ballpark does play into it, especially when you hit it up the gap. But I really do think, look at all the infield singles they seem to be getting, this year. That very rarely has happened during my whole life watching the Tigers. I don't remember a whole lot of guys around LaFleur or somebody, but not get a whole lot of infield hits. They're getting a lot of infield hits. That's speed.
All right. So both is the answer for Mary. All right. We'll move on to question.
Kind of. I would side with speed more than the park, though. Okay. I really would. But the park's huge.
We'll go 60-40. Okay. Question 2. Dave from Redford wants to know, once the expansion draft is over, are we going to see a crazy day of signing and trades tomorrow? We've been joking about this, Art. July 22nd is going to be a very busy day in the NHL.
Well, if you read Twitter, I think the expansion draft is already concluded, right? I mean,
trades are happening already, so get ready this evening.
It is bizarre. At 8 o'clock, I think we're going to be sitting there, and ESPN's going to be, hey,
Twitter.
Sue Bird's here, and she's going to be a flag bearer at the Olympics on Friday, and she's in Seattle now. Oh, but Seattle's kind of close to Japan. I don't know what they're going to be talking about. But because the whole list is going to be out probably by that time. I expect to see some flurry of activity. I certainly do. I think that, unrestricted free agents, the Red Wings can sign their own guys tomorrow that they want unrestricted free agents, because there's no you don't have to protect them anymore, because the expansion draft will be over. I mean, the official expansion draft will be over, despite what Twitter is saying right now. With all that said, I do think you're going to see a flurry of activity. I think, and also remember, probably unlike Vegas had a lot of side deals in place too. There was a lot of action going on. George McPhee was able to do that. I don't think Ron Francis is going to be able to do that quite as aggressively or have as many side deals. So there's going to be a lot of activity. And Daniela, when you cover sports, it's a domino effect. One guy's starting to do it and you say, uh-oh, I might be, I'm on the outside looking in. I think it's time for me to do something. Hi, Steve. I'll give you like 5 number ones for the Little Caesars pizza sauce recipe, okay? And Eiserman's like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I can get Chris to divulge that for 5 number ones. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts.
It will be nuts. And Art, speaking of Little Caesars, we want to thank Little Caesars for delivering the mailbag right here on the Word on Woodward. They introduced their hot and ready pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. Apparently, they include a secret special sauce, too, that might be worth 5 first-round draft picks. We'll have to find out. Everybody wait and see. And I hope you're watching the draft on Friday from Chevy Plaza. The NHL or the Red Wings are hosting a draft party that starts at 6 p.m. in the Chevy Plaza. Like I said, at Little Caesars Arena. Catch the draft as well as alumni appearances. The Dan Rafferty Band, who is great. They have done some music stuff for us before. They're going to be really entertaining. A chance to win prizes, including tickets to the home opener and much more. Plus, it's a free event and free parking. So join us to see who's next and who the Red Wings will select at number 6 overall. Again, that's Friday, 6 p.m. at Little Caesars Arena on the Chevy Plaza. And now we're going to get to the headliner that you've all been waiting for, where Art and I caught up with Bob McKenzie earlier this week. It's time for the headliner, presented to you by Miller Lite. Today's guest is TSN hockey insider Bob McKenzie. Bob, we are so excited to have you joining us today, especially as we approach the busiest couple weeks of the NHL offseason.
Thanks very much, Danielle. Art, happy to be with you.
Yeah,
Very
we're really
good.
excited to have you, like I said, and there are a few things to talk about, especially the NHL draft. Your final rankings did come out earlier this week, and I'm going to start with the first two prospects. You have Owen Power, who seems to be the consensus number one across the board, and then number two is Matty Beniers, both Michigan guys. There are quite a few Michigan guys in the top 10 this year, but what makes Owen Power and Matty Beniers so good that in almost every mock draft or rankings list that I've seen, they are the number one and two?
When we did the midseason rankings back in early April, 10 out of 10 scouts I surveyed had him as the number one prospect for this draft. But they still left the door open a little bit that maybe somebody could challenge him. But then he went and played for Team Canada at the World Championships, the Senior Men's Worlds in May. Canada won a gold medal. Power started out not getting very much ice time for head coach Gerard Gallant's team. But by the time it was over, he was on the top pair with Troy Stetcher and was playing power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, and was a force. And I think he gave a glimpse there at the Worlds of what the expectation is for a 6'6" defenseman who can come in and be a top pairing 25 to 30 minute a night guy. He's not Victor Hedman, even though he's stylistically and physical stature gets the comparisons. He's not as elite offensively or as elite defensively as Victor Hedman, but he's damn good at both ends of the ice. And so he really reaffirmed his status as the number one guy. And in my mind, based on the scouts I talked to and the 10 that we surveyed for our TSN final rankings, he really opened up a gap between himself and the rest of the field. Now, you obviously have interest in Matty Beniers being a University of Michigan guy and all. He is the consensus number two, and 4 of the 10 scouts I talked to rank him as the second best prospect in this draft. But in full disclosure here, I've never seen it tighter for number two, between Matty Beniers at number 2, Simon Edvinsson at number 3, the tie that we have at number 4 between William Eklund, the Swedish forward, and Mason McTavish, and Dylan Guenther at number 6. Those players, every single one of them, got serious consideration from the scouts I talked to as the second best player in the draft. There's virtually, in my mind, there's virtually nothing separating those 5 players. And if we go one step further and bring in the number 7 on our list, Brant Clark, number 8, Luke Hughes, and number 9, another University of Michigan guy, Kent Johnson, those guys didn't get number 2 consideration, but all 3 of them got multiple votes in the top 5. So I guess what I'm saying is, from 2 to 9, is I've never seen it as congested and compressed. And honestly, I've got less faith in our rankings this year between 2 and 9 than I ever have in the past, because there's so little separating those 8 players.
Bob, that's a really interesting point. Is that because this was such an odd year where the O didn't even play, and scouts are all over the world, and you're basically confined to the country you reside in to actually see talent? I know video's great and all that. I mean, do you think that's why it's, in a way, almost like they like to say, a crapshoot?
Like everything else in this pandemic, the short answer is I don't know. I'm not. I think you're probably right, and that was my first thought. It's an unprecedented draft in terms of the limitations that the scouts had to get live viewings, and the body of work is not as great as it might otherwise be. But the flip side of that is that maybe it's just the nature of this year's draft. These are all really good players, and they're all going to play in the National Hockey League, these top 10 guys, the top 9 in particular, I mean. But I also think that, contrary to some other years where guys are like, okay, well, this guy for sure is going to be a number one center in the NHL, or this guy's going to be a number one winger, or this guy's going to be a number one defenseman. There's not as much of that at this level. Like, the scouts love Matty Beniers. I mean, strong two-way game, 200 foot, revs the engine really high, great attention to detail with and without the puck, can play all up and down your lineup, play the left side, play the right side, play in the middle. You could put him on the first line, and you could put him on your second line center. You could, make like the Tampa Bay Lightning and put him on the third line and on a championship contender, and he'd slot right in, no problem. That versatility is great for him, but he's not, the number one point producing pivot that so often we see. He's not an Austin Matthews. He's not a Connor McDavid. He's not a Steven Stamkos. He's not a John Tavares. So all these guys between 2 and 9, they're all really good players, and they're probably going to make a really good impact. But the scouts are tempering their enthusiasm for them as elite prospects for the National Hockey League.
All right, Bob, we're going to get a little Red Wings specific here. As you mentioned, this is a top rankings list. This isn't exactly a mock draft, but Art and I each did a mock draft for our Word on Woodward show. I had the Red Wings taking William Eklund at number 6, if of course he falls there. And Art had them taking Jesper Wallstedt, the goaltender, at number 6, who you have ranked as the 12th best prospect. And then Sebastian Cossa, the other goaltender that's highly touted, is ranked at the 15th best prospect. Do you see a possibility that the Red Wings could go with a goaltender at that number 6 position?
I certainly suppose anything's possible. We're all just guessing because, how many of us had Moritz Seider being the pick for Steve Yzerman and the Detroit Red Wings. That was just slightly off the board. It was a great pick, an inspired pick. He's played extremely well, and I think his development trajectory would say that, the Red Wings made a wise investment in Seider. So we're all just guessing in terms of that regard, and we know that, there's a having taken Lucas Raymond, there's a strong Swedish flavor, always has been, with the Detroit Red Wings, and my friend Hakan Andersson and the great job that he's done over the years with getting using the pipeline from Sweden to the Detroit Red Wings. So yeah, the Eklund thing makes a lot of sense, but honestly, I think they could go in any different direction, and I've got to believe I'd be surprised if Wallstedt is gone by the time the Wings are picking, but I wouldn't be surprised if Eklund is long gone for Detroit. As I said, that scenario, the lay of the land between 2 and 9, is as clear as mud, and it's going to make it, in my mind, almost next to impossible to do mock drafts. And I see all the mock drafts, and I recognize them, and everybody's got Seattle taking Matty Beniers at number 2, and maybe they will do that. But I've learned in this business not to assume anything, and we'll see where it goes.
Bob, if you look at it and you look where the Red Wings are, I mean, if they don't, like I think, because you never know with Steve what he's going to end up doing. If he takes a goalie, I guess I wouldn't be surprised at 6th overall. Of course, I was begging him to take Askarov last year at 4, and he told me I was nuts. But aside from that, I'm really kind of curious. It would appear that Detroit looks pretty good prospect-wise as far as defensemen, especially right-handed shooting defensemen. But do you think they go up front then? Because they really do need goal scoring. Do you think at the 6th pick, if they don't go goaltender, let's say, that, maybe if it's Beniers falls or Kent Johnson, another Michigan kid, or Mason McTavish has been, rumored to be Detroit's top want. How do you see it playing out?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm not sure very many teams draft for position that early in the draft. But this might be a year where, because I said everything's about as clear as mud, and there's not a lot separating a lot of these prospects, and that maybe they're not necessarily viewed as, number 1 centers or number 1 wingers or number 1 defensemen, that this is a year where maybe a team like the Wings or others in the top 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, would consider leaning towards a specific position. But I think the good teams and I think you saw this when Steve was with the Tampa Bay Lightning and Al Murray heads up their scouting department. The good teams take the best player available, and you worry about need down, because if you take the best player available and he turns out that he was the best player available, then you end up with an embarrassment of riches at one position, and you can easily alter that by making trades or what have you. So there would be some people who would say, yeah, you're right, they're deeper on defense than they are up front. But they took Raymond last year, and so might they go back for a defenseman this year? You can spin it whatever way you want. I've got to believe, absent a real surprise, the Red Wings and most teams picking in the top 10 try to go for the best player available, and if it duplicates some of what they've already got in their system, so be it.
Bob, real quick to end this, in your mind, how much does the expansion draft actually affect the way the teams are going to draft? We mentioned the Red Wings, for example. They have a lot of defensemen in their prospect pool, but they left Dennis Cholowski unprotected. So if he is the one that's selected by the Seattle Kraken, does that impact where the Red Wings take or who the Red Wings take at their number 6 pick? Is it maybe a defenseman because they just lost one?
Yeah, you know what? Again, I go back to the original premise, and that is I don't think teams are as sensitive to some of those things if they are operating under we're taking the best player available and we're not going to do it. I think the media and the pundits are, and for obvious reasons, we need stuff to talk about, and we like to have some fun with it, and so Wings are deep in this position, so they got a hole here, so they need. Keep in mind, a lot of these players, 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 years before you see them in the National Hockey League. And so much can change between now and then. So whether the Wings lose Cholowski or who they lose in the expansion draft, I'd be shocked if that created any sort of seismic reaction that says, oh, now we have to take this guy in the entry draft because of it.
We're really excited to see what happens in the expansion draft and the entry draft, because as we've talked about, we really have no idea how that 2 through 9 is going to go. So it's definitely going to be interesting, and we appreciate all of your insight.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Enjoy.
Thanks, Bob.
And of course, a big thank you to Miller Lite for presenting the headliner right here on the Word on Woodward. Miller Lite, the original light beer with great taste and only 96 calories, available for delivery. Another thank you to Bob McKenzie for taking the time to join us and chat about the draft. And let me just say, if he doesn't have any idea, I feel like nobody has any idea what's going to happen. Let's get into Let's Socialize, presented by AAA, so I can bring back Carly Johnston and Art Regner. What do you guys think? It's crazy to hear somebody that really studies the draft and prospects, that's his job, say that he really doesn't know who's going to go anywhere from 2 to 9. So I'm excited. That makes the draft more interesting.
That's for sure. And I feel like, especially with Steve Yzerman, we just really never know which way he's going to go. I mean, you can always say like a forward or a defenseman or a goaltender in Art's case, but you really just don't know who Steve Yzerman's going to pick. So looking forward to see who he will pick on Friday, but it won't be just him. Well, he'll be the only one selecting the pick with his team behind him, including Chris Draper. But who is going to be able to announce the 6th pick with Steve Yzerman? This is Harold Washington Jr., who was chosen by the Detroit Red Wings to help out Steve Yzerman in announcing that 6th pick. Excuse me. The Red Wings let him know just a couple days ago at Learn, Play, Score Street Hockey in the D-Summer Series at Pat Memorial Park in Southwest Detroit. They told him there that he will be helping out Yzerman with that. So it was really cool to see him and his excitement. Head on over to Hockeytown Cares Instagram to see the full video. And of course, speaking of Instagram, the Tigers post an awesome post from the game the other day with Miggy lifting Harold Castro during Simba Camp. I mean, this just cracked me up. I love seeing the Tigers being able to have fun while they're winning game after game. So hopefully they'll keep that up and continue to be able to have fun playing the game that they love. But that's all I have for Let's Socialize. It was a quick one today, guys.
Carly, I have one question for you. The little kid that is, why am I blanking on his name? What did you just say his name was? Harold. I was going to say Harold Castro, and then I was like, wait, no, that's a Tiger. What was this kid's name? Okay, but anyway, Harold. It's so cool that he gets to do that. I want to know if did he understand exactly what he's going to be doing? Because I feel like that's something that's so exciting, and maybe he didn't quite grasp exactly what it was.
I think at first when they announced his name, like they didn't exactly give the full spiel of what exactly he'd be doing. They just kind of announced his name, and he was like, "Oh, that's me!" Like all excited. And then I interviewed him after, and he was just speechless. It was super sweet. Like he just said, "I mean, not only am I helping out the Red Wings, but Steve Yzerman." So it was awesome to hear him, and it's very cool that they're spreading the love of hockey in the inner city and just being able to bring the game to these kids. This kid Harold said that he had just started playing hockey a couple weeks ago, and he already loves it. So it's awesome to see his eyes light up, and not just in the sport of hockey, but also with the draft and Steve Yzerman being able to help that out and be a part of that.
Yeah, and you guys will get to see him at the draft party, right?
Yeah, we'll see him on the big screen. As Art would like to call it, we will have a bit of a big screen show down at Chevy Plaza at Little Caesars Arena. So again, like we've been pushing it all show long, make sure to RSVP online. We're really hoping to have you guys out. Art said he would be staying there all night, swigging beers with any fans who are lingering around. So Art, you better hold up your promise.
Yeah, let's clarify that. I'm not going to be swigging beers with little Harold. He's only 10.
No.
Okay. No. But how about this? How about this? How about if somehow he's so nervous and there's multiple names and Steve says, this is the guy, say his name, and he ends up saying a different player. Gets it wrong. Put down the first. You just can't. But then Steve, because Steve's a bit, he has a big heart. He's a very, he just doesn't have the sense to say, yeah, no, this isn't the Academy Awards. We can't go back. And the player that Harold says turns out to be a Hall of Fame Red Wing. It was destiny. That would be great.
I thought Art was supposed to find him on Facebook or his parents or something and tell them to say Jesper Wallstedt no matter what.
No. I look, when it comes to the draft, I am definitely whatever Steve wants to do, and Harold now, whatever Steve and Harold want, that's who the Red Wings should take.
Okay. Yep. So we'll see what that is Friday, 6 p.m. Little Caesars Arena in the Chevy Plaza. Be there or be square.
That's a great ending note, you guys. Great ending note. I love that. All right, that does it for Let's Socialize. A big thank you to AAA, who provides free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. We have come to the end of another edition of The Word on Woodward presented by PointsBet. If you missed anything today, make sure you check out the Word on Woodward YouTube channel, which has all of our interviews from today and all of our past shows as well, so you can catch up on anything that you've missed. And of course, the Tigers take the field again tonight against the Texas Rangers starting at 7 at Comerica Park. Remember, it is Pink Out the Park for breast cancer awareness. So if you are heading down there, wear your pink, and the first 10,000 fans will get a free pink Tigers jersey. So definitely get down there early. If you don't have your pink, especially, you can catch that game again on 97.1 The Ticket or Bally Sports Detroit if you are not headed to the ballpark. And the Word on Woodward will be back, but in a little bit of a different format. Art Regner and I will be doing an interview every week that will alternate between Red Wings and Tigers guests. So we'll still be bringing you guys some great content, but as the hockey season nears, it's going to be just a single interview, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely still stay tuned to Red Wings and Tigers social media. We'll update you. And the first interview is due next Wednesday. I'm not going to tell you who the guest is, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, stay tuned to social media, and thank you all so much for always tuning in to the Word on Woodward. We'll see you next time.